to order our staff meeting, April 25th, 2023. And we'll start with the dais and introduce us.
Christy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Driehaus.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Charlie Annis, Prosecutor's Office.
And I'm Alicia Reese, Hamilton County Commission Board President. We've got 3 agenda items, so we'll get moving on it. First, we have John Gomez, Southwest Regional Liaison for State Treasurer Robert Sprague. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Do I need my address for the record or anything like that? Or
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'm John Gomez. I'm with State Treasurer Robert Sprague's office, Southwest Regional. I just came on at the end of February, joining his team. My region, just for your context, goes from Shelby County all the way down here to Hamilton County, plus Brown and Claremont, and everything in between. So I got 13 counties total. It's a good chunk of change, but I live up in Miamisburg in Montgomery County, so right in the middle, pretty accessible to everything. I provided you all with folders giving some details on some of the programs we offer. Some of the big ones I just want to highlight right now, Star Ohio, which is, think of it kind of as a mutual fund that local governments are able to utilize. It has high liquidity, able to get in and out pretty quickly. The most important aspect to note on that right now is it's seeing close to 5% yield on investments. So it's a good way to make some extra income for local governments. OMAP, our Ohio Market Access Program as well, is important these days. That allows local governments to essentially borrow the state's bond rating and save money on interest when it comes to bonding out projects for infrastructure and stuff like that. And then there's EcoLink and Grow Now, which are 2 programs we're working on revitalizing a little bit, but Grow Now will be used to help our small businesses expand and grow with lower interest rates. And EcoLink is one that'll help households upgrade to more energy efficient infrastructure and appliances, windows, kind of whatever they need at reduced interest rates. And actually, I did have a question for the board. Do you all at the county level have any programs similar to that when it comes to helping residencies upgrade their infrastructure, make it more energy efficient or anything like that?
Yes, we'll. Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, the rest is if you have any questions or would like to know anything else.
Yeah, my first question for you is, are you working with our county treasurer?
Yeah, I just stopped by her office. They're all at their conference this week, so
Yes.
I haven't had the chance to meet her yet. I think she's one of the last 2 or 3 that I haven't had a chance to get in with yet. But yeah, I asked them. They weren't totally aware of any program off the top of their head.
You probably want to meet with her. I know normally we don't do this at our staff meeting. We kind of have one-on-one meetings.
Yeah.
But most of our treasurer stuff is through her office. But I will allow Mr. Aludo, is there anything you want to comment on, answer that question?
So I'm sorry, the question was on individual residences for, so we do have a home improvement loan program that's operated through our community development office, which is a linked deposit program through local banks that enables residents to get a lower interest rate. So we've done that. But I know, I think our community development office is here. That's the main home improvement program that we have right now. So,
Okay.
But certainly happy to talk further if there's a way we can work together to
For sure.
spur some additional opportunities for residents. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And we do have a grant program for our senior citizens to upgrade
Absolutely.
their homes so they could stay in their homes. So boilers and different things.
Yeah, so-
This board has put millions, a couple million, in to help with that as well.
Yeah. So if to the degree there is energy efficiency, that crosses with some of those home improvements like roofing or decks, boilers, those hot water heaters, that type of thing, then that would play in as well.
Great.
Awesome. Vice President Driehaus, do you have anything?
No, thank you for being here. Thanks for the introduction. I did go through the folder, and I see that you do work with financial literacy. And I'm wondering, I just went to an event recently up celebrating Julie Heath at UC for her work with financial literacy. She actually, and Commissioner, you might remember this, when we were at the State House, there was a bill passed about teaching kids financial literacy in school. Julie was the impetus for that legislation. And so I don't know if you've got a relationship with UC. Julie has retired, but they have a very, very strong program. And I just want to make sure that to make that connection, if you're not familiar with them, they do a lot in that space.
Absolutely. This month is Financial Literacy Month, so I'll make sure to reach out to them and talk more about it. And I guess at a broader level, one of the programs we help support a lot is Ohio State's Real Money, Real World program. They're kind of simulations. We go into usually middle schools and high schools, and kind of it's like the game of life, but on a big simulation scale. Kids pull a card, and this is their job. This is how much money they make, and let's find out how to make it work and teach them skills like that. So. Yeah, that's a space where we like to do a lot in, and any way we can do more.
Right, so I saw that, and I know you're working with Ohio State, but since your district is here.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do it.
Taking the same stage.
Yeah, you see, and they do something similar. They go in and create these like life scenarios for the kids so they understand more about financial literacy. So Julie Heath was the person, and so she's no longer there, as I said, but they've got a really robust program, and I'm happy to give you the information for that.
That would be great.
Because they could be a great partner when it comes to building out that program in this area
Absolutely.
of the state.
Yeah,
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Thank you. And Vice President Driehaus and I both served with Mr. Sprague.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
So we know him very well. Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, John, for coming. I was just wondering, several years ago, there was a process that happened where each village or municipality, township could have an open book as it relates to their budgetary issues. At that point, it was voluntary, and I know Lincoln Heights decided to go in and do it anyway. And I was just wondering, is it still voluntary to have that open book? And
The Ohio checkbook. We still maintain it. It's not as high up on our priority list, this administration, but we do still have it. It is still used by a lot of municipalities, and there are any municipalities that want to get on the Ohio checkbook, we're more than happy to work with them. It's totally voluntary, and even the data they submit, when they submit it, that's all voluntary as well. So, but happy to work with them on it.
so about how many, would you say, how many municipalities, villages, whatever, what percentage are now allowing their books to be open like that?
It's a declining percentage on the Ohio checkbook. A lot of them have chosen to kind of do it on their own, put it on their own website. And we haven't pushed the checkbook initiative at our level. So it's been kind of stagnant or declining, but every once in a while we'll have a few more come on board. That was mainly a big focus for the last treasurer. Our office, that we've had other focuses other than the checkbook, but we still maintain it. It's still active, and I believe we partner with another state agency to help maintain it at this point. So if there's any who want to jump on board, we're happy to help.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. And maybe working with our economic development and our treasurer, we're all about partnership. And our goal is to educate people also, not just the local government piece, but what can individuals, you got on here a stable account. So looking at what can we do to help at a time when, Lord forbid, what happened in Silicon Valley with the bank and the stabilization of banks and people wanting to feel that putting their money there is safe. So, if the treasurer wants to come down and do something showing what we can do to help, I see this stable account, I'm not familiar with everything, but maybe come back and do something that we can market, because one of the things I think both of us learned up in Columbus is a lot of stuff from Columbus, but it hardly makes it down to the grassroots level of the individual. And they say, oh, they're doing all this stuff. I mean, but how do I access it? And according to this stable account, it says it helps you take control of your financial future through a stable account. Account holders can save and invest without losing benefits such as Medicaid and SSI. Of course, that's a longer explanation that needs to be had, but you have some programs that maybe we can get better understanding for the local citizens.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk to our stable team and get them down here kind of specifically on that program. And I will add on the stable accounts, that's a fantastic program. It allows those with disabilities to save up to $17,000 a year tax-free if they don't have a job. But if they have a job, up to $30,000 tax-free a year. And it doesn't count toward your SSI or other public benefits. So it allows people with disabilities to kind of gain that financial independence or get on the pathway to that while still maintaining those public benefits, which I know so many rely on. In a past life, I worked for Congressman Shabbat working on Social Security issues, so I understand a lot of the difficulties that come in with people who do want to work, who are disabled, and they aren't able to because they don't want to lose those benefits. So stable account's a great way to kind of bridge that gap and help them become more independent and more involved in the community. We can have our stable folks come down and have more robust meeting talking about the benefits of it, how to get signed up. And it has been a program that's grown a lot over the last about 5 years. I think the number went from about 3,000 users in Ohio to over 30,000. So it's grown a lot, but people still don't know enough about it. So one of the things we like to talk about. Last thing I'll add, just kind of put on your radar, the goal, hopefully in the next few weeks, months, I think it's part of the budget process, so it's all being worked out, as you know what that's like. But we should have a new initiative coming out to assist first-time home buyers with down payments and things like that. We're working out the details of it. We should have an announcement in the next couple weeks on it, but I just wanted to put on your board, on your radar that in the next couple weeks we'll have an announcement about a new program to help first-time home buyers in the state of Ohio. So that's
posted. Keep our economic development folks posted, because we want to make sure that we're feeding this stuff out and helping folks. You mentioned small businesses. If you have some money, it's not a leaflet fair, but if you have some money with some computers and you taking people application, behind you is Mark Ben Ullman, who is working with Holly Christian. From our team, we have opened our first small business, Office of Small Business for Hamilton County, and we're having a small business day on May 22nd. And it's an actionable place. So if you've got folks that are looking to help small businesses and you've got the computers and all that, maybe you want to talk to him and see if the treasurer's office should be a part of that. I think we've got over 300 plus already registered, and we've got more to come. But if you got something, we want to make sure we're connecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can be there as well. But just wanted to let you know about that. But it's not a leaflet, no pamphlets. It's sit down and let's try to help you if you qualify. Everybody won't qualify, but there's some people who will.
Yeah.
Vice President Driehaus, you wanted to say something?
I did. I wanted to follow up. Well, first of all, on the stable account that you mentioned, that originated down here too. With Chip Gerhardt was the driving force behind that. That was also going on in the legislature, and we were around. And to follow up on the UC piece, I don't mean to belabor this, but Larry Johnson is the dean that you should contact. I've written it down. I'm happy to give you this piece of paper. He's the Dean of Education, Criminal Justice, and Human Services up at UC, and he could guide you in the right direction to create this partnership that you have with Ohio State down here at the University of Cincinnati. So I'm going to pass this off to you just so that you have it.
So in other words, down here we are. Is that what they say?
Just trying to make the local connection. That's right.
Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a specific question. I was looking at the stable account again. And one point says employees with disabilities can now save more money, as you were saying, while keeping their public benefits. So it allows them to accumulate wealth without having to lose those benefits. What was the top number they could accumulate? Was it 30?
I think it was about 30,000 a year.
Okay. So you have maybe parents of those that are disabled may have an asset that they want to give to them that is valuable. And with this program, you're able to do it. So this is great. And I remember someone talking about it, I don't know, last year, and never really looked into it. But this is something, as you were saying, really needs to be advertised. And so it would be great to have somebody to come down and talk about it.
We also offer payroll direct deposit deductions for stable accounts. So if someone here has a child with a disability in a stable account, we could do, we could work with you all to get a deduction straight into that account. So That's something our stable team knows a little bit more about than I do, but it's another tool we offer to make them more accessible. I have big posters too I can bring up to encourage people to sign up if you all would like that up here.
Yeah, no, I think it's right. I think thanks for coming today. I think the issue is that we want to, the county, we've been at the state, and as Vice President Driehaus has indicated, the state, we get the laws passed and those kind of things. But what's exciting now that we're at this level is now we can make sure those laws that were passed that came from Hamilton County, as she mentioned with Chip Gerhardt, and we voted for these things, but now, did it meet anybody? And so in Columbus, of course, you're right there, so Columbus gets a lot, and Ohio State and those kind of things. But when you get to the southern part of the state, we pass something, and you might hear about it or you might not, as Commissioner Dumas is saying, and we should have a goal since you have our district now.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how many people from Hamilton County are on this, know about this, and then how do we grow that number
Absolutely.
now that these things are available? So we're in a position now where we can, I call it the rubber meets the road, the delivery to the people. And so if there's, we may want to circle back with you and maybe partner and have something with people who are eligible for this and they're signing up. We, like I said, partner with you. If you got something for small business, people can sign up so that those bills, when you're in Columbus, Bill 285-9, it's like, what did it help anybody?
Yeah.
So now we're able to get it out there now that it's passed. And so we hope to partner with you and Mr. Sprague's office as we go forward. I don't know, Jeff, you had your light on? Was there something else?
Oh, no, I had left it on.
Okay.
I apologize, but just as a quick follow-up, so on the stable account, we link that as an employee benefit. So when a new employee starts, or even at open enrollment time, employees who work for Hamilton County understand that here is a stable account that can benefit you if you fall into these circumstances. Here's how to access the Ohio State Treasurer's Office, that type of thing.
It's awesome. All right, thank you, and we'll work to get more to the people.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Next, item number 2 is our 2023 HUD Action Plan, and we have Maria Collins, who is presenting.
Yes,
Welcome back.
thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, Commissioners. Once again, yes, I'm here today to update you on where we are with the creation of the program year 2023 action plan for our HUD entitlement funds, our block grant, home funds, and ESG funds. So I want to give you a quick overview just about our allocation. For 2023, the county received $5.4 million, as I mentioned, in the form of community development block grants, home investment partnership funds, and in emergency solution funds. Also, too, just so you know that these funds are used to help us in developing viable communities by creating affordable housing, also by helping to create suitable living environments, address homelessness and services throughout the county, and to help in expanding economic opportunities, primarily for people of low to moderate income. We administer these funds to 43 of the 48 Hamilton County jurisdictions. Those 43 jurisdictions participate in the county's HUD program. In 22, the county requested a change of our program year, which once ran from March 1st to February 28th. Our new program year now runs from July 1st through June 30th. And this enables us to better serve our participating jurisdictions, as well as to align us better with HUD's program year. Just quickly, briefly about our consolidated plan, and the reason that I'm sharing this information is because our annual action plan is actually called for out of our 5-year consolidated plan. This is a requirement of HUD that we complete a consolidated plan every 3 to 5 years. And what it does is it outlines housing, community development, and economic development needs and priorities that we address with our block grants, home funds, and ESG funds. The county's 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan was completed in March of 2020. The last year of our plan will be next year, and we'll be working on our next 5-year plan. Once again, the priorities of our consolidated plan is to identify affordable housing needs, public improvements, and economic development programs throughout the county. So, as far as the action plan and the due date of that plan, it is an annual plan, so we do this every year. And our action plan actually describes the activities that we will undertake with our entitlement funds, and it should align with the consolidated plan. We're required by HUD to obtain public input during the development and prior to submission of our proposed action plan to HUD for review. This year, our action plan is due to HUD for review on May 17th, 2023. This is a breakdown of our entitlement over the past 2 years. Our total 23 entitlement is just over $5.4 million. The program year that we will be expending these funds is from July 1st of 23 to June 30th of 2024. And this just gives you a bird's eye view of what our 22 funding was and our 23 funding. And as you can see, we did receive a little more in our block grant, home, and ESG fundings for 2023. Now, just to quickly give an overview of our block grant program, these funds, the objective of our CDBG funding is to primarily spend them on projects and activities that will benefit low and moderate income persons, and also used to aid in the prevention and elimination of slum and blight. Some of the eligible uses of the funds, but this is not all inclusive of how they can be used, is acquisition and demolition, improvements of public facilities, public services, and provisions of assistance to profit motivated businesses to carry out economic development and job creation and retention activities. This next slide is to show you how our 23 CDBG allocation will be dispersed. The total funding, it was $3.4 million. 51% of those funds go into community projects, 1.2 million. Just an example of what those projects look like. These are acquisition demolition projects, putting in ADA accessible ramps, pathways, home repair, facade improvement programs, street sidewalk improvement, reconstruction, and senior center upgrades. 35% of these funds go into community-wide programs, such as fair housing services, senior services, economic development projects, economic development services, and fair housing services. And then the remaining 14% of those funds will go into planning administration. Now, the way that we administer our allocation of CDBG funds is through 3 competitive programs. One of the programs is our mini planning grant program, which is used to assist jurisdictions in planning programs for future development, which we hope they will come back for more CDBG dollars and home funds to help in developing those plans. The mini planning grant budget for 23 is $100,000 with a maximum of $40,000 per grant. We also have the Community and Economic Development Assistance Program, CDAP. This year, we have a budget of $870,000. that we will be administering towards economic development projects or projects that spur economic development. And this is actually up from 2022. Our budget was $600,000. So as you can see, we have a little more funding that we'll be able to assist our jurisdictions with this year on those type of projects to spur economic development. And then the third competitive program that we use is the Nonprofit Services Program. This year, we have $75,000 budgeted for this program that we will be awarding to nonprofits to provide nonprofit services throughout the county. Also, I want to point out that we reduced the minimum grant amount for our nonprofit services grants this year from $50,000 to $10,000 to open it up to smaller requests that we received this year, and it'll allow us to award a few more or to assist a few more agencies who provide these type of services. The next slide is just a brief overview about our Home Investment Partnership Program. And I've mentioned this numerous times, but our home grants these are the largest federal block grants that are awarded or allotted to state and local governments to help those jurisdictions in creating affordable housing for low-income households. These funds can be used for various activities: acquisition, demolition, new construction, rehab, pre-development costs, developer fees, things of that nature. The county this year received an allocation, or for 23 is receiving an allocation of just over $1.7 million. These programs will help in building new housing or rehab existing housing for families who earn 80% of the area median income, and rental housing for families that earn at 60% of the area median income. This slide is just a quick snapshot of the 2023 home budget allocation so that you can see how we have this broken out. As you can see, the largest portion of that, the funding from our home goes into actual housing projects, $1.2 million. We are allowed a cap of 10% to cover planning and administration costs, and we are also required to set aside at least 15% of those funds to be used for activities that are undertaken by what are called CHODOs, or otherwise community housing development organizations, to construct affordable housing throughout Hamilton County. And I also like to note that the funds can only be used for eligible costs for home assisted units. The general requirements of our home program is that I just want to restate that projects that are located in the city of Cincinnati are not eligible for county home funds, except if those funds are being used to address special housing needs, such as permanent supportive housing, and also if the city is making a significant contribution in that project. That is the only time that our home funds would be used. The availability of home funds are capped at a maximum of $50,000 per home assisted unit. However, there is an exception set aside for what we call priority communities, where we cap the home unit amounts at $75,000. Those communities being, of course, Laughlin, Elmwood Place, Lincoln Heights, Gulf Manor, and Cheviot. And just one other note is that these projects must include a development of at least 4 housing units to be eligible for funding. And then our last grant that we receive from HUD is our Emergency Solutions Grant, which we pass through to Strategies to End Homelessness. Strategies, as you all know now, is the lead agency for the continuum of care, and they assist with addressing homelessness in Cincinnati and Hamilton County. The county's allocation of over $295,000, which will be passed through to strategies this year, will go towards rapid rehousing and toward administration cost. Now, moving into the action steps or the process for our action plan development, there is a citizen participation process that is involved with preparation of this plan. The comment period for this year's plan started April 7th, and actually it says through May 8th, but it will actually end on May the 11th. Input to the action plan is being solicited through emails to a variety of our county stakeholders. We've published public notices in the Cincinnati Enquirer. We also have posted information about our citizen input process on the county's website, on the commissioner's page, as well as on the community development page. And we also have an online survey set up where individuals can go in and provide any comments that they may have to the plan. The public hearing, there's 2 public hearings that are required as a part of this process. The first public hearing was held on March 30th. The second public hearing and also the board's approval of the plan will be held on May the 11th. The action plan timeline for the comment period is, as I mentioned before, the comment period began on April 7th. The draft action plan and plan information summary sheet are available on the county's website. And then on May 11th, the comment period ends. Final public hearing and board county commissioners' consideration of the 2023 action plan will take place. All Hamilton County residents and stakeholders have been invited to attend a public meeting and provide comments on the draft 2023 action plan, which is now available on the county's website. The link is below. They can also send in their comments, written comments, to my attention via my email, or they can go online to our online survey, which is linked here as well, or they can scan in the QR code that will take them to the survey where they can respond with their comments there. That's all I have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I do have one, I'll have some more questions, but I have one question. You said you advertised in the Cincinnati Enquirer. Do you
Yes.
also advertise in the
The
Cincinnati?
Cincinnati Herald.
I thought you had said
Yes.
that before, but I didn't see it in here, so.
Yes,
wanted to-
we advertise all of our notices in the Herald as well as in the Cincinnati Enquirer.
Gotcha, okay. We'll open it up, Vice President Driehaus.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. So when we talk about some of the funding running through the different categories, can you help me remember, is there any discretion? I remember back, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, where we were trying to set priorities for some of the funding and what categories we wanted to prioritize. And my recollection is at that time, housing was one of the priorities that we identified. Is there discretion, especially when it comes to the nonprofit services, where this board sets kind of priority categories for that funding, or am I thinking of a different fund?
Well, we do have goals for the funding. And if you just give me a moment here, I'll just run that down to you real quick. So in our budget, we break down the activities by goals. So we have administration, we have quality of life, public services, public infrastructure improvements, public facility improvements, eliminate slum and blight, spur economic development, homeowner assistance programs, housing rehabilitation. So those are the goals that we lay out in our budget, and then we look at the project and what goal that project is meeting within those funds within our budget. So that's how we determine how much is going towards addressing each of those goals. So for nonprofit services, we have the community-wide programs, the nonprofit services program that addresses public services activities. And then we also have a carve-out with the West College Hill Neighborhood Services that is a senior center in Springfield Township that also receives some funding as a part of our community-wide carve-out of those funds.
Not to cut you off, but I want to just make sure that her
yeah.
question is, who made that? You keep going, we. Who is
Oh, community, I apologize for that. So the goals actually are laid out in our consolidated plan. So the consolidated plan states the priorities for the county.
We got that. Did we do it? The board?
The board does.
Okay,
and
that's
I
what she was trying to
apologize.
say.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because it's a federal program, I didn't know if we had any discretion related to the priorities or if they're set by the federal government. So I hear you
No,
saying
they're
that
set,
local.
I apologize, they're actually set by the board.
Okay, so then my follow-up question is, and Commissioner Dumas, you might remember this, I don't remember if you were here, or if I was so new that you weren't, but I remember having a conversation about the priorities of the board and how we wanted to prioritize the funding that was going out to some of the nonprofits. And I remember it's been my memory is not great on some of these things, but I think it was a few years ago that we did that. I'm wondering out loud if those priorities should still be the priorities, if they've shifted at all related to the board, and if we can evaluate that. I don't know if it's too late for this round of the process, but if we could weigh in and review those priorities and think about if there's anything that is more relevant now than perhaps it was 3 or 4 years ago when we did this to begin with.
Right.
And just so that the three of us can make an evaluation, not that these aren't good priorities, I think they are, I think they make sense. But I would like to think through that again if that's possible. I don't remember what the process is and what the timeline is for setting those priorities.
So our 5-year consolidated plan, the last year for the plan is 2024, and then we'll start working on our next 5-year plan for 25 and the 5 years for that plan. So I would suggest, I would say, and I'm not sure, and I'll probably need to get back to you on what the process is on that, but what I am saying is that I know we will start planning or looking towards our next 5-year plan or consolidated plan, which I think is definitely going to be a great opportunity to start to reevaluate some of these goals and
Yeah,
priorities.
that's what I'm getting at. Is I knew there was a process in place. I just didn't
Yes.
remember the time frame around.
Yeah,
Maybe you can give us the goals so we can
sure.
refresh our memory, not today, but to email something to us. And also check, I know we said 24, we can make some changes, but let us know if changes are available, not to say we're going to, but that, what are those opportunities? Mr. Aludo, you want to add to that?
Yeah, just briefly, I think to clarify, but I think it's already kind of been said that first and foremost, there are federal goals associated with this. So I think as Maria had gone through, the elimination of slum and blight, the furtherance of fair housing, improving public facilities, improving quality of life. So there are some high-level federal goals that the consolidated plan has to hit. But at the time that the board is putting together that 5-year plan, there is typically considerable discussion about how we want to craft that.
Right.
And so as you see reflected in the plan in front of you today on the CDBG program, a preponderance of that is going towards economic development issues. That's something that didn't used to happen way back in the day. It was really, more of it was spread out on a community by community basis, on more of a formulaic basis. And then on the home side of things, the vast majority of that going to affordable housing, which again, back in years ago was not the case. But yes, absolutely, we want and desire this board's approval when we get into those planning process. And I think, as you mentioned, Madam President, on a year-to-year basis, I think we have the opportunity to shift some things around as well on more of an incremental basis. But that opportunity is there as well, so we can get back to you on that.
Right. So this update also too is to open it up to the board as well for any comments that you may have or any adjustments that you would like to see in the 2023 action plan. So that is the purpose for this update today. So if there's, like for nonprofit, if there's, something that you want to see happen with that, or the priorities, maybe slightly shifted or changed or modified, this is that opportunity for us to do it for this year's plan.
Right, and I heard you say that you have done some modifications by making the amounts lower so more can participate.
Yes.
And different kinds of agencies
Yes.
can participate, which I think we've all been saying that should be a priority. So I appreciate
Right.
that. Yeah, I think it's more of this, I remember this process and weighing in, and it must have been this 5-year process. So I feel as though if we are going to evaluate, we do that as part of the process. We let the nonprofits know and other agencies know that the priorities are shifting. Some of them are the same, some of them are not. As we move through the next round is kind of what I was getting at. I had a vague recollection of doing it. I just couldn't remember when it was. So thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I clearly remember us having our input, and specifically as we talk about the nonprofit grants and the fact that you guys looked at and considered it and reduced the amount. So I appreciate that. Thank you for your report. I should have said that first. But you talked about the parameters that Cincinnati might be able to get some of the home funds. And but don't they also receive their own funds?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so
That's why it's important that there's significant investment in that project from the city, and it's not just the county. It has to be significant.
And the reason why I brought it up is if we decided that we wanted to kind of give them some of the monies, it would have to be really a special exception because they get their own money. So I want to make that clear. And I also remember asking this question that I'm going to ask again, the 14% going to our planning and administration. I remember somebody jumping up and saying about the reporting guidelines are so stringent that we actually have a group of people that work on these HUD grants. And I was wondering, is it we have our own staff and then we have a consultant who helps with the planning administration of these HUD monies? Is that true?
Well, the consultant, which is, we're like starting to kind of phase off of that contract, but the consultant was brought in primarily to kind of help keep things moving forward in community development while it was being restaffed, and to also to assist with training of the new staff. Now, we will still contract with NDC because they do the underwriting for our RFPs. So for our CDAP RFP and our home RFP, they do the underwriting for us. So we'll still utilize them in that capacity. But as far as planning and policies and things of that nature, we're starting to kind of move away from utilizing them to assist us in that capacity.
Okay, thank you for that. So the amount of money that we received is the 14% for the planning administration. Is that about normal, what we would do for that amount of money that was received?
Yeah, our CDBG admin budget, it generally ranges between $500,000 to $600,000.
Okay. So for the planning element though, is that normal that we would have 14% versus 10%?
Well, it's well, actually, our admin cap for our CDBG funds is 20%.
Okay.
So 20% of our admin funds, or of our CDBG funds, apply to admin. Now, a portion of that goes to actual administration, but also a portion of that goes to some of the carve-outs that we have. So, like, we have a contract with Alloy for economic development services that comes out of our admin funds. We also have a contract that this is the last year with the West College Hill Neighborhood Services for the senior service facility that they're in. So not that entire 20% does not go towards actual admin. It actually goes towards some other services that we contract out. And also the lead hazard program as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Well, you've given us our outline Thank you so much. We
Okay.
really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You all have a nice day.
You too. Okay, next we got Mark Van Almen to talk about short-term rentals. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I have a short presentation on short-term rentals today, and I'll get right into it. So, as you're all aware, when someone stays at a hotel room in Hamilton County, there's a lodging tax charged to that stay. It's the case in Hamilton County. It's the case in a lot of other places. The important thing to keep in mind in the context of this conversation is that hotel within the county's code of regulations is defined as having 5 rooms or more. So whenever someone stays at a place that has 5 rooms or more, there's a lodging tax levied. In addition to that lodging tax, they're also being charged a state sales tax, a county sales tax, and then in some instances there may also be an additional municipal or township lodging tax. So up to 3 or 4 different taxes on the hotel bill that comes back. And as far as the county's lodging tax, that supports a few different things. One, it goes towards the operation of our local convention and visitors bureau, so that's Visit Cincy. Those funds also goes towards improving our 2 main convention centers, Duke Energy Convention Center and the Sharonville Convention Center. And then also a smaller portion goes towards, that's distributed by the county to communities that have hotels but don't levy their own lodging tax. So that all kind of sets the table for this recommendation that's coming later in the presentation. What you may realize is that definition, 5 rooms or more, it doesn't cover what was called short-term rentals, or STRs for short. A lot of people call them Airbnbs or Verbos. These are essentially single rooms available for rent. Personally, I just booked one of these last week. It's a great option for families. It's obviously growing. We've been working with a couple of consultants researching this issue, and one piece of information that we've come across is just from 2021 to 2022, unique rooms available for rent, they're still increasing rapidly. They increased 25% in that year. So it's a large option out there in terms of finding a place to stay for a tourist or even someone in Hamilton County. Like I said, STRs, they don't fall under that definition of hotel in the county's code of regulations, and that same definition applies for the sales tax as well. So it kind of compounds, and this graph shows you the results of that. So starting at the bottom there, hotels in the city of Cincinnati, you see 4 different taxes: local sales tax, state sales tax, the county lodging tax, and then the city of Cincinnati's lodging tax. As you move up, as I mentioned before, there are a handful of municipalities that charge their own lodging tax besides the city of Cincinnati. It's a little smaller, so you see that bar shrink a little bit. But the majority of communities within Hamilton County do not have their own lodging tax, so you see no purple in that 3rd bar from the bottom. Then moving on to short-term rentals, the city of Cincinnati does levy a tax for short-term rentals, so those are being taxed, but at a smaller amount compared to hotels. And then as you move outside of the city of Cincinnati, it's 0 tax on short-term rentals outside of Cincinnati, but within Hamilton County. So in light of that, the administration's recommendation is that we revise the definition of hotels within the county's code of regulations so that operators with 1 room or more are subject to that same 6.5% tax. And if you think back to that graph, that's not going to completely level the playing field, but it'll be a step in that direction. And in addition to that, there's other cities throughout the state and counties throughout the state that are already acting on this, and they're seeing the benefits, namely that additional revenue source coming in that we'd be able to invest in our county tourism infrastructure. This is supported by Visit Cincy, and we're going to continue the engagement process with other stakeholders as we continue looking into this recommendation. And this graph kind of gives you an illustration of what the results of implementing this recommendation would be. So you see, because short-term rentals in the city of Cincinnati are already taxed, implementing this recommendation will bring that, I guess, fourth bar from the bottom up a little bit, but it'll still be less than hotels everywhere else. And then short-term rentals are kind of on the chart. They're no longer zero, but still significantly less than hotels elsewhere. So some administration considerations in terms of this recommendation. We administer the collection of lodging taxes for hotels now, and I think that's mainly pertains to one person's duties, and it's about half of their time, but that is just 100 hotels, and this would be 1,300 short-term rentals, so you're increasing that base by quite a bit. But that's not really even the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing is hotels. A lot of them, I mean, they have their own webpage. You can find their address. They got a phone number you can easily call. For these short-term rentals, you don't get any of that information until after you book the room, just for, I guess, privacy and security concerns. So they're pretty much impossible to track down manually. So what we're looking at is likely having to work with a consultant that will have some sort of very niche software that scans a lot of different web pages, Airbnb, VRBO, but the 30 or so other platforms that are out there with these short-term rentals, and compiling a database of the world of short-term rentals that the county would have to contact to collect these taxes if we were to start collecting them. And let's see. So going with that. So, but in addition to working with a consultant, and that may be kind of just to launch the program, it may be on an ongoing basis. That's something that we're going to need to figure out details on later on. But we are also recommending the creation of a new position, the lodging tax administrator, mainly for those two reasons that I list at the top. So as far as next steps, it would be 2 resolutions coming before this board over the next few months. The first one, like I said, would be to revise the Code of Regulations to change that definition of a hotel. Once we have that policy feedback from this board that this is something that you all are in favor of, we would then move on to figuring out kind of more of the details of how the program would be administered, and we'd bring a resolution to create the position of the lodging tax administrator either in this quarter or the following one. But either way, a collection of lodging taxes from short-term rentals likely wouldn't start. It would make sense to start that kind of at the new year, January 1st, 2024. So that's all I have today. I guess this presentation is to gauge this board's feedback on whether or not the administration should continue looking into this. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We had been hearing that this was obviously being looked at, but I guess I have a couple questions. But the one I had, in terms of hiring the person first, when will we hire the person? You're saying hiring the person this year before we start collecting?
It would be before we start collecting to get the program ready to launch, yes.
So who's in charge of collecting the hotel tax?
It's staff within our budget department.
President,
Yes.
we currently have one individual and an intern that are currently responsible for collecting hotel taxes from the current list of hotels, as Mr. Von Allman indicated in his presentation. That's currently from around 100 or so facilities. The concern, excuse me, with this particular program is the universe is going to increase by up to 13 times. So getting that person on board to set up the procedures and the processes for collecting would be extremely helpful in getting this program kicked off seamlessly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to make sure, because you're saying you don't have addresses and those kind of things. So I just want to make sure we're not, we keep hiring people, and I just want to make sure that there's some work to do. Or would they be the ones finding these addresses, or what would they be doing while we're not collecting? Because my thing is, once we collect, then the position is paid for, because it's paid for with the collection. Prior to the collection, we're paying for a position and we're not bringing in additional revenue.
I will preface it all to say that we still need to figure out the details. We're just waiting on the policy guidance to actually pursue those details. So happy to follow up with you with more. But at this point, I would anticipate definitely leaning on consultant services in order to create this database initially. It's not something that one person's going to be able to do unless they have an extensive budget to book a lot of short-term stays throughout the county to get that information. So the consultant is more so building that database, but then there's certainly the customer service and just the mechanics of, okay, not everyone's going to remit their taxes when they get those first 2 emails that are auto-generated from the system. It's going to take a person to do a personal email coming from a human or make a call to have that kind of additional line of defense to drive that level of compliance. So I think a staff person is an additional staff person would be a reasonable approach to making sure this program is carried out the right way. Just kind of adding on to Jeff's point, as we speak to more consultants and local governments that are carrying this out elsewhere, what we hear is that just the amount of thought that goes into launching a program goes a long way in the level of compliance that you achieve. If it looks like if someone kind of receives a cold email asking them, hey, you need to pay your taxes, it's something that they could easily ignore. But if it looks very official, very organized, you have everything right, and you're following up in the right spots, then your level of compliance is going to be a lot better. So that's why it's kind of a multi-prong approach to it.
No, I understand we will need additional staff. My question would be when, and I think your answer is if we get the policy direction, then we'll get more information before we decide if that person comes in, next quarter, if you will. Because you're talking, you've got Q2, Q3 is when you're looking for them to come in. And I guess what would be the interaction with is there any interaction with the treasurer, the auditor's office? I mean, is there any interaction there?
I think there would be interaction with the auditor's office in terms of receiving payments. Sure, I mean that's the office that typically handles that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. I'll open it up, Vice President Dreas.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, Mark. I do want to note that Mark is leaving the county. We're very unhappy with you, Mark, at the moment, but
Yes,
but congratulations to you. I think, a week or two to go?
Next week's my last week, yep.
All right, so thank you for your service to Hamilton County. We are very grateful for your expertise.
It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
I also, as a bit of a caveat, so the map that you showed early on here, I would love to know where that property is that's getting $850 a night.
Sorry to interject already, just kind of definitely an illustration. Just quickly screen grab that from searching Hamilton County Airbnbs. I think that was from Airbnb.
I want an overview of that property.
Okay, I'll take a look. Yep.
I'd love to know where that is. And it looked like it was in Sharonville. I'm like, oh.
Quite a variety of options on those websites.
Right, like 150 to 850. It's quite the span. So I just have 2 simple questions. One is, I was trying to read from your chart, is the city taxing at the 6.5%? Is that their rate of, you're suggesting that we tax at 6.5%, correct?
Yes.
Is that the city also doing 6.5?
It's not. I apologize. I have to get back with you on the exact number. I believe it's a little bit higher. The city under Ohio Revised Code has more options in terms of levying taxes on short-term rentals. The county needs to do it specifically within a lodging tax context, and the cleanest way for us to do it would just be to expand the same lodging tax that we collect for hotels to short-term rentals.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if we would have the authority to differentiate the type of tax we collect from either or. The city is actually collecting not a lodging tax from short-term rentals, but as I'm sorry, it's a different type of tax, and it funds a couple of different things.
And I was just looking at the bar graph that you provided, and it looked like it was around the same. I'm just trying to get.
It is around the same.
Okay,
I
all right.
believe it might be a little bit higher.
Okay.
Maybe 7%.
And I do think in general, I think this makes sense because the short-term rentals are providing the same service as a hotel would, and we are taxing the hotels with the hotel motel tax. And I do think out of fairness, it makes sense to do this. So I do want to offer that by way of policy direction, at least I'm speaking for myself. The other question I have is how much do we anticipate generating through this if we were to move forward with it? Back to the commissioner's question that was asked earlier, I don't have a sense of how much revenue would go into the waterfall at the hotel motel tax.
There's a handful of assumptions that would need to be made in terms of compliance rate, in terms of an average room rate, in terms of the number or how frequently those rooms are booked. But taking kind of conservative estimates of all of those, maybe a couple of others, we're looking at about $400,000 annually coming in is the estimate that we listed most recently.
And so is that to begin with, or is that you think will be like the average over the next 5 years? Is that what you're referring to?
Compliance may take a little while to ramp up, but I wouldn't say 3 years out or anything. That would be not average over 5 years. That would be our anticipated revenue year 1 or 2.
Okay, and going up from there, you mean?
Well, that just depends if short-term rentals, the number of them increase. If they continue to increase, then yes, we'd anticipate revenue to increase. But if no one creates any more short-term rentals, then that would be kind of more of a flat number then, unless we were able to get above that 80% compliance. But
That's right.
that may be difficult.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when I first got on board, we had problems with compliance as it relates to those who are already supposed to be turning in their 6.5% lodging tax. So that was one point. The compliance is not where it needs to be for those who have already been responsible for that amount. Secondly, the Airbnbs, I'm a little concerned about. I think we need to do it. I heard that, it was fair, but I think it should be more of a gradual lodging tax. I mean, they have never done it before. Why are we going to throw on them what people have been doing before, and even if it's a 4% or whatever, just to assume that they're going to be able to handle this? And most of those Airbnbs are sole proprietors. So we're working very hard to keep them afloat. And now we're going to but we're going to add this responsibility on. So I would like to see a gradual, which maybe even the third year or maybe the second year come up to the 6.5%. And then lastly, I think the position that you had mentioned, the lodging director or coordinator, will definitely pay for itself. And I'll just go back historically, as I was saying, we're not getting all we should be getting, and now we're getting more, and that'll be good for the county. But I'm sure that position is needed, and we will get our money for whoever we hire to do that, to follow through on that responsibility. That's all I have.
Okay, where are we at with this? What needs to happen?
The next step would be bringing back the first resolution to revise the county code of regulations to change that definition of hotels. It would have we would recommend that it have an effective date of January 1st to give us some time to kind of build the program and have an organized approach once we start collecting that tax. But that resolution would come before you all potentially within the next month or so.
Okay, everybody good with that? All right, anything else you have before you get out of here?
Sorry if you're not looking to broadcast it, but happy birthday, Commissioner Reese.
Oh, thank you. Okay, if we don't have any further business. Oh, yeah.
Happy, I didn't realize it was your birthday. Happy birthday. I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but I hope
25 again.
hope you have a good day. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you all. Okay, with that, we are, I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Commissioner Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.